Hi. Sorry. Hi, everyone. Check my voice first. You probably already heard some noise. Oh, okay. I think the bottom is all right. Okay, good. Let's start. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Insights with Lily Zhang. And today is September the 2nd. Well, we are having pretty good weather. And last couple of days was cold. And I think, oh, my hair, all right. Hi, Neil. Hi. Yeah, we seems back to summertime. Anyway, the weather's pretty good. Today I'm going to, it's some personal thoughts because I think you already know 31st of August, that's the last day of US and NATO troops withdraw from Afghanistan. And that's, I think, historical moment. But I'm not going to criticize the withdrawal of the troops, how they withdraw, the strategy, how it looks. It didn't look very well. It's just. But today I'm going to talk about more about the strategic shift of U.S. and also on the impact on our personal level. You might think that's probably something strange, why U.S. troops withdraw from Afghanistan might impact you on personal level. That's something interesting. That's why I want to talk about that. Just briefly, U.S. troops withdraw. I think, although it didn't look very nice, it looks like a failure. But personally, I think that's a good decision. That's the right decision. The Afghanistan war lasted 20 years, cost United States a lot. Basically, I think total, United States spent 8 trillion in 20 years, 8 trillion on the war, and another nearly 2 trillion on the reconstruction of Afghanistan. So basically, US spent about 10 trillion US dollars in those 20 years, and they've changed 4 presidents, and also more than 2,000 US soldiers and more than 1,000 NATO soldiers sacrifice their life. And when you look at the result, basically after 20 years, the result is US change Afghanistan to under Taliban's control, back to Taliban's control. So back to square one. Yeah, so looks like a failure, and the withdrawal of that is very hurried and also didn't look very nice. And Taliban basically took control of Afghanistan in a month or less than a month. So the whole thing looks very bad. It looks like it's almost looks like the withdrawal of civilization, and Afghanistan basically back to square one and back to Taliban's control. I'm not going to talk too much because you've probably seen too much about the news, about the humanitarian, the crisis in Afghanistan and also all those problems the terrorists might back to there, and the humanitarian crisis there as well. I mean, how Afghanistan going to develop, I'm not going to talk too much about it. Yeah, I'm not going to judge right or wrong, but personally, I think that's a good decision. And also, it's not good or bad. It's a decision showing, most importantly, showing America's strategic shifting from anti-terrorism to something more important. I'm going to talk about that later. Yeah. So this whole thing, I think it's almost like stop bleeding. Number one is stop US spend too much money, $10 trillion on Afghanistan. The US internally, the US has lots of problems from coronavirus. We can see the medical system is not up to scratch. And also from last year's election, you can see their internal conflicts quite big. And that's why it's caused January 6th, the crisis of the crash of Capitol Hill. That crash actually is far more threatening than Afghanistan or any terrorism, because that's the internal conflict, and also it's shaking the foundation of democracy in 1,000 years. That was the first time in history is shaking the peaceful transfer of power in United States history. So that threat was much, much more lethal than Afghanistan. Terrorism, like it's always, we think, there's a Chinese saying, we say it's just like how US treat terrorism is like 大炮打蚊子. 大炮打蚊子 means use a cannon to shoot a mosquito. Use a cannon to shoot mosquito. That's quite accurate. For a mosquito, you can just kill it by one finger or something like that. But the strategy for US get into Afghanistan and stay there for 20 years, it's like US is using a cannon to shoot one mosquito. Also, terrorism, I really like, he's my favorite author, Yuval Harari. He's the author of *Sapiens* and *Homo Deus*. He's Israeli, so he really know how to. Israel really know how to deal with terrorism. He said terrorism is like a fly, or it's like a fly in a China shop. How do you kill that fly? It's very annoying. Yeah, just one fly. Do you kill just? You can use very precise strategy. Just kill that fly, or you can use, like I said, use a cannon. You kill the fly, also you kill the whole China shop. So I think this withdrawal is good because it's like US finally recognize Afghanistan or terrorism is not a threat. Well, it is still a threat, but that threat is much smaller than the threat from Capitol Hill or from somewhere else. So that's why I think it doesn't matter how much money they spend, how many people die, how many soldiers die of Afghanistan, they withdraw, decisively withdraw. Because they are I think that's why I'm going to talk about more about the strategic shift. Because number one, they recognize they got to stop bleeding in Afghanistan. They stopped now. And the major reason, I think, behind this is they have to facing the new threat of 21st century. I probably talked about this before. the new threat of first century. You probably heard of this, but I'll conclude that it's not my personal opinion. It's just a combination of that. It's the new threat we're facing now. We probably already experienced. People will say that's probably coronavirus, but coronavirus. So like I said from my last program, it's already with the vaccination. We probably already seen a light at the other end of the tunnel. Basically, coronavirus is still counted as a natural disaster. Just a side topic, I've read not all of that, just you probably heard of the US Congress report about the origin of coronavirus. Yeah, that report is I think 700 pages or something like that. And the conclusion actually basically looks like no conclusion. Conclusion is, not certain. Everything is not certain, but only one thing is certain is not a warfare. So it's not a biological warfare from China. And I kind of agree that because from China's first reaction to Wuhan virus breakout, doesn't look like a planned warfare because they seemed very shocked. So that's about just at the moment we just don't know the coronavirus are from laboratory or from natural animal. And my personal thinking is I think it's from that's my personal opinion. It's from the leaking of the laboratory animals. So that's probably a combination of both. Well, this is coronavirus, but behind this, there are deeper threat of 21st century. The major ones are the technology side. Actually, technology side is from biology and artificial intelligence, or the combination of biology and artificial intelligence. The other one is climate change. Climate change, I'm not going to talk too much about that because I read quite a lot of the book I'm reading now at the moment is the Great warming period in history. Actually, back to 10th century, in history we had a global warming period, which is I think from history looks like the Earth getting warmer every 1,000 years. That's probably a smaller cycle. And I think, from longer period, I think the Earth is experiencing probably the end of Ice Age. We are getting from the Earth's bigger cycle or even smaller cycle every 1,000 years. The Earth is getting warmer, and that's because of the cycle of the Earth, the cycle of the relationship between, or the distance between the Sun and the Earth. So naturally, we are on the warmer period. Plus the industrialization will make atmosphere CO2 or something like that warmer. But I'm not intend to some green parties theory that's all caused by human behavior. I think human behavior here, I agree. The climate is changing, is warmer. We can see the glaciers disappearing and more extreme weathers, and we can see 100 years, the temperature is much higher. But I'm not sure that it's caused by human behavior. But on the other hand, what can we do about that? We can't, that's the focus. Maybe we didn't cause the global warming. Global warming was caused by the natural cycle of the Earth and the Sun, but we can't do much about it. All we can do, the only thing we can do is to control our human behavior to maybe reduce the temperature for 1 or 2 degrees. So my point of view is not the human behavior really cause the global warming, but human behavior is the only thing we can control, or as humanity we can do about the global warming. So can you see the logic? We didn't cause that, or we didn't cause the major part, we didn't cause that, but the only thing we can do is to control human behavior. That's the part we can do. So strategically, that's the global climate change part. On the other hand, so I think that's on the other hand, the more threatening part of 21st century is more on artificial intelligence and a combination of artificial intelligence and biology. I think this artificial AI is basically developed so fast, and we are in very dangerous territory. That means, which direction we're going and how we regulate artificial intelligence. And the combination of biology and artificial intelligence, that means it's not just we being controlled by machines. It's not just machines and us. It's a combination of biology and artificial intelligence. That means it's the machine part, the AI part, is getting into us, getting into our brain, our body. Like they can genetically change part of us, or just it's like it's from outside and get it into inside. It's like from robot. It's not between us and robot. It's how robot or artificial intelligence get into us and change us as a species. Oh, well, it's not probably. So the problem is not, we don't know if it's good or bad. The good part is we probably become a super, or some of us become superhuman. The bad part is we have no idea how these superhuman, are they going to be more machine-like or us-like? Or is that going to become a new species? That's really possible. So the threat, I think, I talk about artificial intelligence, biology, a combination of that, and climate change. These ones are the new threat of 21st century. I think from Afghanistan's withdrawal, the US troops withdraw, we can see they are shifting the strategy, because the threat from all three of us, all of those threats, it's on the global level. So plus other threats like nuclear war or something like that. But at the moment, I think basically everybody kind of agree. All those threats of 21st century, then it's not from one country, it's not for one country, it's for the global. It's no one country can escape any of those threats, and no one country can solve the problem, any of the problem, just by themselves. So I think US, this Afghanistan withdrawal really just showing US finally they are shifting from anti-terrorism to much bigger threats. The threat, also they understand that AI is not just how technology develop. Also, the most difficult part is how to regulate this technology or the direction of this direction technology. But they also, I think us or all of us, most of us recognize this word, the too big part, or the trend is too big part. We can see the free word, the democracy part. Most of the democratic countries like the US, Europe, Commonwealth, like British, Australia, New Zealand, and Canada. And another camp, well, I'll probably talk about two camps, the free word camp, and another camp is totalitarian camp, including China, Iran, Russia, Venezuela, and other smaller countries. Yeah, so these two camps, we can see the major trend. Also, on the surface, you might see that's probably the AI race between China and the US, trade war between China and the US. They just the representative of those two camps. But the major threat is with AI developing. AI actually makes those totalitarian government more efficient because AI is based on big data, big computing power. Yeah, I think last century, the reason communism failed compared with capitalism, because communism is based on centralized planning. For economical reasons, the centralized planning just make the economy failed. But the new century, with big data, big cloud, and big computing power, maybe that's a threat. That's a big threat. The totalitarian government will benefit from big data because its concentration of data and computing power will make the totalitarian government maybe more efficient. That's why it's very crucial for the democracy to unite it together, not American first or Germany first. Because we have to, the free word camp have to reunite it together to against another camp because this threat of AI, threat of big data. So I think that's why I'm pleased to see the change from Donald Trump to Biden. Biden, yes, he looks quite not that sharp, but actually Biden so far doing pretty good, and I think he's going to move America to another direction. That means that direction means just unite the free world, lead the free world to challenge, to face the challenge of 21st century, the challenge from global warming, the challenge from artificial intelligence and biology threats, the challenge from totalitarian camp. So I'm pleased to see America change their strategy. Yeah, so that's the big direction, and people will say, "Oh, what's okay? We know that America changed direction. What's that to do with me?" Yeah, I'm thinking about that because but I think that's the direction of United States. Also, that's the direction of the whole, like I say, the free word camp, and also conflict or contrast with the totalitarian government, the camp. As an individual, we probably we can't do too much. We can't do too much about climate change. We can use less plastic. We can't do much about artificial intelligence or biology. What can we do? I'm not saying you can do it. You probably can do something just to protect the environment or something. I'm not going to comment too much about it. I'm just talking about our personal strategy. What I can see is put it that way, yeah, from the big environment to a smaller personal strategy. If I choose strategically, I'll try to avoid to those countries in very hot. Sorry, I'll move to cooler regions. Maybe, yeah. That's why I moved from Australia to Europe. It's I didn't probably when I moved from Australia to Europe, I didn't think about the climate change. But now I just as a reflection, I think probably basically with the climate change or global warming, those countries hotter, drier will become hotter and drier. And just like early 10th century, and those countries in cooler region, they'll benefit a little bit from the global warming. That's how Europe in early medieval time, like 10th century, 11th century, Europe developed very well agriculture, and Vikings settle down. So with this global warming trend, moving to a cooler region, maybe, in short, maybe it's a better choice because you probably can avoid very extreme drought and heat wave. Yeah, that's probably on the personal level. AI level and biological level, I can't do much, but from personal investment point of view, I just there's another new news is recently, just 30th of August, Google just announced he's going to invest 1 billion, €1 billion in Germany. Then set up data center around Frankfurt. Also set up cloud processing center in Berlin. So that's a big investment. Google is not alone. Tesla, when they are last year, Tesla going to set up their biggest European mega factory in Germany. And of course, Apple is invest a similar amount of dollars or euros, 1 billion euros in Munich, set up its own data processing center. So in new century, data is probably the most valuable assets. Back to the old days, land was very valuable. That's why we see countries fighting wars for land. And the last century, we're seeing if you have the assets are machineries, if you have good factory like Ford or Chrysler or something like that, or Rockefeller, you become capitalist. So if you have good machineries, you are on the upper hand. I think the new century is going to be whoever control the data is going to have data is the new assets. That's why we see those big companies. They control the resources. Oh yeah, data is assets and resources of the new century. But why they all choose Germany? Or naturally, when you see Apple, Tesla, and Google invest hugely in one place, which is Germany, that means capital and people flow into their country. I think Germany will, well, that's my personal opinion. I can expecting Germany's property price going up because I'm in this industry. When you see money and people flow into one country, one region, one place, 100% sure the property price will shoot up. So yeah, good thing to invest in, good time to invest in German properties, although their property price is up a lot. So, but I see in future it's going up more and more, especially in Frankfurt, around Frankfurt, Main and Rhine region. Mainz and Rhine region. Also Berlin area, because Berlin and Brandenburg area. Munich and Hamburg, those major centers. So it's just because I'm in property industry, so that's why I only talk about properties. That's how from the US troops withdraw from Afghanistan, and I see the strategic shift of US. Also, I see the personal, the on personal level, how you can decide your business or investment strategy. That's how, why I talk about this today. That's how we see international events and how it affect us, how it affect our decision making. So hopefully, let's just share my insights and thoughts. The weather is so good. So next week, I would love to travel more in Europe. So I might do a new live streaming or do more travel videos. Okay, that's pretty much today's thoughts, and you can leave your message or comments on my channel. Thank you very much, and I see you next time. Bye-bye.